Hey everyone, welcome back to Ontario Gardening. Today I'm going to show you how we're doing our tomato trellises this year using this hog panel and some T-posts. So if you're doing this, that's all you'll need is these T-posts here. They're usually green, but I spray painted them yellow to match my bee house. But you can get these at your PB Meyer TSC local hardware stores. As you can see here, that's what they look like. And then you've got your hog panel, or you can use cattle panel. Sometimes it's known as mesh garden wire. So you'll have to take a look at your local area. I'm in Canada, so this stuff can run us, like, for an 8-foot cattle panel, I believe is about 20 bucks. So it's not going to take a lot to do my beds, but if you're looking at doing a really long space, then it might take a little bit more to do that. The other thing you're going to need is a hammer to put your T-post down into the ground, and some zip ties, which I just got at the dollar store. So we did one side already. As you can see, you put so I'll show you. We put 2 T-posts. Now I have my gardens this way. They're on the fence. So I am doing my tomatoes this way. So my T-posts and my paneling are going this way, and I'm going to put tomatoes on each side. Now, if you were doing it this way and you had long beds that you could actually walk on each side, then of course you're going to want to put your T-posts 1, 2, and have your panel going this way so that you can plant your tomatoes on each side and obviously walk down each side. So just remember that as you're doing that. It depends on how your beds are laid out, but mine are laid out like this, so we're doing it like this. So here was the roll of paneling. I actually got mine from free from my grandparents. And what we did is we cut them according to the size of the inside of the bed. So here's our piece cut here. I believe this was about 40 inches. We just used wire snips to cut them. And yeah, so like I said, we're gonna pound those T-posts in to each side, put the hog panel up, and we zip tied it. So we zip tied it, one up here at the top, and then in the middle, and then down at the bottom. Now at the bottom we did leave a space, probably about 6 to 8 inches of space at the bottom. There's nothing here, as you can see. That's just so when we plant our tomato, it gives it a little bit of space for that airflow underneath. Just, we don't want to end up with blight or any pesticides or anything to be growing under there. So basically, if I was to take this, and this was my tomato plant is going to be planted in the ground. Its stalk's going to come up, and it's going to, all its leaves are going to hit the panel, and I'm going to use tomato clips and essentially clip them in place all the way up the panel. In previous videos you've seen, I've used bamboo sticks in the past to try and like get all the tomatoes in together. It's just a mess. So we're going to try this way this year and see what it looks like. So let's get doing the other side. The other thing I should mention before we get started is to make sure you're spacing out each trellis accordingly so that your tomatoes are having enough room to grow. So this year we're using the square foot gardening method. So I made sure, because I'm going to put 2 tomato plants on each side, that there was at least 2 square feet on this side to do that. And now what we're going to do is come over here. I'm going to make sure there's 2 square feet in between before I start the next paneling. So the first one we pounded down until it was 55 inches from here to into the soil. Now I'm in a raised bed, so this is going to be a little bit different than if you're in the ground, because you're really going to have to pound to get in the ground. And you can honestly do any height that you want. You don't have to do 55 inches. It's just, that's what I'm doing. So we're pounding down, and then eventually we will get to 55 inches. And then just keep doing that until you hit whatever height you did on the other side, because you want them to be relatively equal. So we're going to pound those in until 1 and 2 equal 55 inches. Okay, so that took about 30 seconds to a minute, and they are both pounded down to 55 inches, and it is equal space from here to there on both sides. So if you were to continue this going down, you would just want to make sure it's equal spaces or enough space for those tomatoes to grow in between. So now we are going to lift the paneling. Now I do need to help for this. So what basically, like I said, you're lifting the panel, you're making it align with the panel on the top like we did here. And then you're using those holes to zip tie into the holes. So we'll do that here. Okay, so I hope this is conveying to the camera well, and I hope that this video did okay. This is what it looks like. So yeah, and when we do future garden tour videos, you'll see what I mean and how it clips up. Okay, so it's a couple days later. I'm just inserting this in here to show you. We've got our tomatoes planted. So as I said, you are going to plant the tomato directly under the trellis, dig your hole, and then now I'm using these clips to hold them on the trellis for now. As they get bigger, I'm going to use like a stretchy tie tape. The stretchy tie tape is what's holding our apple trees here in place on their stakes. So the stretchy tie tape is just a little bit better of a product to make sure that your stems aren't breaking, and the clip only opens so far, whereas the stretchy tie tape you can use to get it as big as you want, and it just doesn't cause so much stress on the plant. Both the clips and the stretchy tape can be found at the dollar store or on Amazon, but that's what it looks like. So like I said, these tomatoes are going to grow. They're indeterminate, so they're going to grow as big as they want to get, and we just are going to continue tying them up to this trellis. They're on each side. It's hard to tell because we planted the tomatoes side by side. Next year we might stagger them a little bit so they're not like so back to back. But this is our first year trying this, so as you can see, and don't forget to label your plants. So make sure that you remember where each one of them are. So yeah, as our tours go on and as our summer goes on, like I said, I'll show you what these look like as they grow up. And yeah, I have to come through and just spray paint this a little bit more to make it a little bit more prominent, but that is our trellising for this year. You can use this for more than tomatoes. You can use this for cucumbers, for your squashes, for anything that vines like peas or beans. Like, you could use this for so many different things. You could also use smaller posts and smaller paneling to do like the smaller things like beans and peas. But yeah, so again, I hope this video shows everything here. It's really warm out today, so I think that the camera's doing waves, but we'll talk to you later. Bye.